Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a fundamental divide in how companies actually grow. The title really says it all. Negative price guarantees kill fad businesses and reward real brands. Let's look at exactly why that happens.
We're going to kick things off with a pretty hard reality that gets ignored far too often. Most businesses out there, they do not build a brand.
They build a spike, you know the drill. They chase attention, they ride whatever trend is hot, they make this massive promise, and then they run super aggressive acquisition campaigns just to collect revenue as quickly as possible. But then, reality sets in. The delivery is inconsistent, customer support drags its feet, the buyer starts feeling regret, retention completely plummets, and the business, well, they just shrug and move on to the next big campaign. And the wild part is, they actually call this growth. But here's the truth of it. A spike can look exactly like a real brand while the cash is still flowing in. And it's not always intentional dishonesty. A lot of the time, it's simply a business that over-optimized for creating demand way before it actually learned how to deserve repeat demand.
But here is where things get really interesting. A negative price guarantee completely changes the economics of that entire model. If you aren't familiar with the concept, a negative price guarantee, or a -1 standard, essentially means that if the promised value is missing, the seller doesn't just give the buyer a polite refund, they actually pay a penalty. This mechanism forces failure to become visible much, much earlier. When a promise fails under clear conditions, there's a real consequence for the seller. A negative price guarantee doesn't create quality, it reveals whether a business was built for a short-term cash spike or for long-term trust. It forces the truth to arrive as a tangible cost.
Think about how a standard fad-based offer actually operates. The marketing is immediate, right? But the delivery, the reality of the product, is delayed. So the disappointment appears later, and it usually happens silently. The customer leaves quietly, and the seller just pivots to the next launch. The entire business is essentially designed to get paid before the truth ever shows up. But under a negative price standard, a seller can no longer rely on good storytelling alone. The truth literally cannot be argued away, because the truth shows up on the balance sheet as a financial penalty. And that is exactly why the exact same guarantee can absolutely destroy one business while making another bulletproof. On one side, you have these spike and die fad businesses. They rely on short-term liquidity, weak retention, and one-time transactions hidden behind incredibly slick marketing. But on the other side, you have the slow and inevitable durable brand. These brands are built on a rock-solid, stable promise and repeatable delivery. Their goal isn't just a bigger launch. Their goal is a business that actually deserves to exist long after the launch is over.
A fad business is built to get paid before the truth becomes visible. It depends entirely on the buyer carrying their disappointment quietly. But when you force this type of business into a -1 standard, weak value doesn't just mean losing a few customers, it creates highly visible costs. Valid claims create immediate consequences, and those consequences systematically drain the exact cash that the business desperately needed to fund its next acquisition spike. Those short-term cash grabs become incredibly expensive when regret actually creates penalties. The business suddenly wakes up to a harsh reality. They didn't just have a product problem, they had a truth timing problem.
Now flip that over and look at a durable brand. A real brand doesn't need every single person to buy once. It needs the right buyers to stick around. So what happens to them? A negative price guarantee actually strengthens this kind of business. And it's not because claims just magically disappear, but because low claim rates suddenly become irrefutable public proof of quality. Having clear rules translates directly into trust. A fast recovery from a mistake becomes public proof, and consistently better delivery actively reduces their future risk. Which brings us to an absolute fundamental rule of business survival. Trust compounds. Regret compounds too. In a durable brand, a satisfied buyer becomes a referral, and those referrals drastically reduce acquisition costs, which in turn radically protects the profit margins. Better margins give you the breathing room to build stronger systems and deliver even better results. The trust compounds into inevitable growth. The difference isn't that durable brands never make mistakes. The difference is what failure actually does to them.
Under the standard, receiving a claim can mean two totally different things, depending on the DNA of the business. For a fad business, a claim is a huge interruption. It's just a cost to minimize, a noisy customer to silence, a problem to sweep under the rug. But for a durable brand, a valid claim is a pure diagnostic signal. It's a learning signal. It forces the question, what exactly did we promise? What was actually delivered? Was this buyer even the right fit? Where did our onboarding process fail? A claim is only dangerous if the business has absolutely nothing to learn from it. Durable brands use these claims to make sure the exact same failure never happens twice. So, seller-side accountability actually becomes a massive operating advantage.
But honestly, the most expensive cost to a business isn't the penalty check itself. It's something far more insidious, and that is reputation debt.
Reputation debt means quietly borrowing against future trust by postponing the cost of customer disappointment. So many weak brands will make this huge, bold promise today, take the revenue today, and simply assume the disappointed buyer will walk away quietly. They assume the bad review won't spread and that they can just predictably replace the lost customer with a brand new launch.
Most weak brands borrow heavily against their future trust, while negative price calls that loan immediately. When a buyer regrets their very first purchase, the business might lose way more than just one isolated transaction. It loses repeat purchases, referrals, future lifetime value, conversion efficiency, and honestly, even internal team confidence. Hidden regret is almost always far more expensive than a visible upfront penalty. Negative price doesn't invent that cost. It just forces the business to face it today rather than tomorrow. And that is exactly why the strongest companies in the world do not fear proof. They fear preventable disappointment.
It all comes down to this simple truth. Hype sells once, delivery sells forever. Hype can absolutely create urgency. It can create curiosity, and it can definitely get you that first purchase. But hype literally cannot create retention all by itself. Delivery creates retention. Delivery creates repeat demand. Delivery is what actually earns you the right to make the next promise to your customer. And because of this dynamic, negative price makes delivery your primary profit lever, not your marketing alone, not shouting a louder offer or organizing a bigger launch. A business that delivers reliably can make accountability totally visible, which immediately drops the financial pressure and makes the brand significantly easier for the market to trust. On the flip side, the business that can't deliver is going to find that every single new promise they make only creates more crushing financial pressure. And that is precisely why negative price behaves like the ultimate anti-fad filter. It just completely filters out any model that depends on over-promising, unclear delivery, quick cash spikes, and hiding the cost of regret. Negative price does not reward the seller who speaks best. It rewards the seller who can survive being judged. This is a mechanism that you cannot copy just by mimicking some clever marketing language. Sure, a competitor can copy your headline, but they cannot easily copy your retention, your systems, your margin discipline, and your long-term reputation.
To see what this actually looks like in practice, we can look briefly at NegBook. NegBook is the first book in the world with a negative price. Its battle cry is incredibly simple. Either you read the book and it helps you, or you read the book and it pays you. The whole point here is that a product shouldn't need hype after the first promise. It should create enough real, tangible value to survive actual accountability. When promised value is missing under clear conditions, the seller accepts the consequence. You can see exactly how this works in practice over at www.negbook.com.
Ultimately, a negative price guarantee shouldn't be used as a gimmick to make a fad business look credible. It should be used to test whether a serious business can become even more credible. The -1 Diagnostic helps businesses figure out whether they are built for a short-term cash spike or if they are ready for a controlled, long-term negative price pilot. Apply for the -1 Diagnostic. Link in description. negbook.com/negative-price-standard.
I will leave you with this final thought as we wrap up this explainer. Do not build a business that survives the launch. Build one that deserves to survive the truth.